Órale, Cholo Choco, los tres chingones, boxing shots, all the chingones y chingonas, man. If you guys are watching this live, we will be doing our Friday show, man, with all the chingones. But for tonight, it's just me, homie. It's me and the fellas, homes. Yeah, there's some high jumps on, dog, right? What's up, Anthony? Bravo. Let me see. Hold on, let me move something right here. Dispensa. Okay. There we go. All right, now I can put you guys up there. There we go. Joel Anthony, Elon. What's up? What's up? What's up, man? Gracias. What's up, Andrew? Shout outs to the 505 from my boy Joaquin. All right, man. So, check this out, man. I check out a couple of other channels and, I see what they're doing over there. And, you got some pretty good channels out there. Then you got some other channels that are straight propaganda, right? And I just kind of stay away from all that stuff, But I've been asked a few things, man. And one of the things is, hey, how come you don't do pound for pound? I was asked once, hey, who do you have on your top and your pound for pound list? And I remember I just replied like, well, I mean, I don't really do pound for pound, but I guess I would say Canelo right now. And then that just kind of, got this snowball effect going like, hey, how come Cholo doesn't do pound for pound? Hey, how come you don't do pound for pound? And I'm like, that's actually a pretty good subject, dog, because I can actually talk on why I don't do pound for pound. It's not because I don't want to have the conversation. It's not because, oh man, you know what? Vatos get too much in their emotions. It's not for any of those reasons, man. I just want to see top fighters fighting each other. I think that's what everybody wants, right? It's simple, right? To me, right? I may say, like, I think this is the best fighter right now, but pound for pound, I mean, I don't even really know because here's the thing, So let's talk about it for a second, all right? Look, right now, okay, just generally speaking, if you ask the boxing public, all right, pound for pound, who's the best fighter? You're gonna get a couple of different answers. You're gonna get a couple of Canelo Alvarez. You're gonna get a couple of Usyks. For the most part, you might even get Monster anyway, maybe. But for the most part, you're probably getting Terrence Crawford right now. I don't think there's really much of a wrong answer, but here's the thing when it comes for pound, what's up, Puerto Rican rum? Is that there's really no way to pinpoint pound for pound who is the best. It's impossible. You cannot do it. Yo, Le Pete Town. Hey, man, for all you guys on here that don't know what real music is, that channel right there, exactly the way it's spelled out right there. You tap that in on YouTube and he will let you know what real music is. There's really no way to know who is pound for pound. Even in the same division, there's just too many moving parts in boxing. Like, let's say right now, right? You got Canelo, you got Terrence Bud Crawford. Okay, all right. Canelo has over 60 fights. Okay, over 60 fights, and he's been pretty active. Crawford is actually older than Canelo, and he has 41 fights. Now, Canelo has been fighting multiple times a year. Crawford, the last time he fought more than once, (2020) he fought once, 2021 he fought once, 2022 he fought once, last year he fought one time, and this year he fought one time. Now, people are going to think that I'm over here trying to make a case that Canelo should be pound for pound. No, because I don't even really care about pound for pound. My point is, unless you got fighters with the exact same activity, fighting the same opponents, there's really no way to measure pound for pound who is the best. Let me see. Sometimes pound for pound is just popularity contest. One fighter win a big fight and everyone wants to be number one. Then you have other fighters contested. Yeah, okay. Well, look, here's another thing too, right? We got this 4 belt era, which, I mean, to me, homie, it's cool, being a world champion and all, but I mean, it doesn't really mean too much because we're in a time where it's like politics is all over boxing, dog, right? And it's been like that for a while. It's not like, hey, that would just happen this year. No, it's been like this for a long time. So you're going to have complications with fighters getting legitimate title matches because of the politics in boxing. So if you got one guy that has to fight 4 champions to unify a division, and then you got another guy that beats that one guy, and now he's unified champion, are they both on the same level? One dude had to fight 4 guys to be undisputed unified champion. The other guy just had to beat one guy. See, there's too many moving parts in the sport of boxing, dog, to really measure who is pound for pound. If you got one guy who only has 10 fights and you got another guy who has 20 fights, and the guy with 10 fights is undefeated, and the guy with 20 fights lost 2 of his fights, who's the better fighter? A lot of people might say, well, the guy who's undefeated. But hold on a second. The other Vato has double the fights. Who's to say this dude doesn't double the fights and loses twice, maybe 3, 4 times? That's why, to me personally, activity matters. If you got somebody fighting once a year, Spencer, homie, it's kind of hard for me to, put you in a level where it's like, wow, dog. Now there's the eyeball test, and that's pretty much what I go off of. I just look at the skills, how the person moves around the ring, the speed, the ring IQ, the generalship. I look at things like that and I can say, like, okay, you know what? This dude, this fool's badass, Holmes. Styles make fights. Being undefeated doesn't matter. Well, look, it shouldn't matter, right? It shouldn't matter. Especially if you're undefeated because you're taking big risk, especially for that reason. So it's hard to say, somebody at 126 pound for pound is better than somebody at 154. Well, we'll never know. Because the Vato at 154 will never fight the guys that the dude fought at 126. You're not fighting the same guys. I agree, Anthony. I agree. But, I mean, in all reality, to us that are, we're boxing fans. So to us, It's entertainment. You know, it's a sport. It's a way of life for us, man. You know, it's a passion for us, right? But the people involved in boxing, to them, it's a business. To them, it's, you know, how can we make money? So that's where politics all get in, and it's what's in it for me. Vatos like you and I, we're just like, hey, homie, you know, we dish out our time, we dish out our feria. We just want to see, man. We just want to see the good fights. You know, damn all this, hey, across the street, and he's with that promoter, he's with this part. Like, man, dog, it's like, damn all that. But again, the ones that are in the actual sport, it's a business to them. Let's take this example, right? If you happen to fight the same fighter, who's to say he's still the same guy? Canelo and David Benavidez fought Caleb Plant. Okay? All right. There's the measuring stick, right? It's like, oh, who did better against Caleb Plant? All right. That's a pretty good measuring stick, right? However, who's to say Caleb Plant's still the same fighter, man, after getting knocked out? Who's to say David Benavidez got the exact same Caleb Plant who walked in against Canelo? Because at that point, he was undefeated. He ain't got knocked out. Maybe he was the same guy. Maybe he wasn't. Only he knows that. So there's just so many moving parts, man, to do a lot of this pound for pound. Oh, man, this guy's pound for pound, that guy's pound. First of all, dog, if a guy got way less fights than the other guy, I take that into consideration big time, Holmes. Big time, right? Like my boy Chewy says. Big time. Because if one guy just has a good handful of fights, 30 fights, and another guy's got 50 fights, I gotta take that into consideration, man. The other guy's been much more active. So there's a lot of different moving parts in boxing. And that's really the reason why I don't do pound for pound. You know, you got guys arguing about like, hey, but has this guy ever been knocked down before? Has this guy ever been down? They're not fighting the same guys. They're not fighting the same opponent. Hey, well, this guy, man, was champion in 2 different weight classes. This guy was champion in 3 different weight classes. This guy, they did not fight the same guys to get there. And not only did they not fight the same guys, they did not fight the same dudes, homie, at the same time, at that moment right there. You have no idea if a fighter comes back exactly the same after a fight, depending on how he loses. What's up, El Pachuco? Yeah, well, you know, Anthony, honestly, man, I think fighters have a lot to do with it. I think fighters at one point used to care about being the best and used to care about leaving a legacy, as opposed to today. I hear much more money talk than ever before. Before, I used to hear a lot more about wanting to be the best. I heard a lot more about leaving a legacy. I heard a lot more of, I want to go down as a legend. I want to go down as one of the greatest ever. And today I just hear a lot more of like just money talk. And I think it's going to get worse, actually, dog. But like I was saying, there's just way too many moving parts, dog, to where you could. There is no way that you can say this guy would have more success in this weight class or at this time or against these guys if they're not there. That's why I don't do pound for pound. You cannot follow 2, 3, 4 fighters in different weight classes and say, hey, well, this guy was more successful in his weight class. Yes, but they're not fighting the same guys as the other guys are. Nobody is. So there's no way to actually have a correct measuring stick. Hey, well, this guy became undisputed champion in this weight class and that weight class and that weight class. Okay, good for him. Who is the opponents? And the other guys that are up there in your list of pound for pound, how can you prove that they would not have the success in that weight class? Yeah, Joaquin. I think they talk more money than ever, but then when people would say like, "Hey, don't you want to be the best?" Then they'll go ahead and bring up legacy. But yeah, and that's a shame, Andrew. That's a shame, dog. That's a shame. I think it all started with the Mayweather era. No, that's hey, look that the Martin 9400. That's actually that's a good point, dog. That's a good point. They're the ones gaining the ring. And by the way, it could be some of these older fighters that probably tell these young dudes like, "Hey, man, you got to take care of yourself. Hey, man, you gotta make your money," and probably scares them and say like, "Nah, Charlie, I don't want to end up like that." It's a good point. It hurts the sport as a fan. I don't like it, but I mean, it's a fair point though. Yeah, definitely. That's why it'd be nice for you to have a good team around you, right? Yeah, yeah, he did, man. He did. He did because look, he was the face of boxing. Now that's another discussion. Instead of pound for pound, the face of boxing. And by the way, this whole pound for pound thing, it doesn't even really matter. It doesn't even really matter. It's a subject to throw out there for boxing fans just to keep going back and forth with each other. And in reality, it doesn't even really matter, dog. I mean, I throw I use this example all the time. Rolly Romero was a legitimate world champion. Rolly Romero was a legitimate world champion. Canelo's the only boxer consistently fighting and beating up bigger guys in their prime. That's the definition of pound for pound. Look, El Pachuco. If I had to, okay, if I had to, which, like I said, I don't do pound for pound. But if I had to choose one, yeah, it'd be him. I could give two rats asses, homie. If people are gonna say, "Oh man, he's you're being a fanboy," whatever. That's fine, whatever, dog. The guy's got he's got over 60 fights. He's got over 60 fights. I don't know. Is there another active fighter today that's got over 60 fights? If some dude's got 25, 30 fights, and you want to consider him a much better fighter, I can't do that, dog, because Canelo's got double that of fights. Now I could use the eyeball test and say, like, "Ooh, you know what? This dude's got skills, homie." See, that's what I'm saying. There's too many moving parts. Do you just go off the skills on who you think can win the fight, or do you go off accomplishments? Do you go off championships? Do you go off, you know what? If this guy was in that weight class, I know he would win. This guy is better just by the eyeball test. I like his footwork. I like his power. I like his speed. He's never been champion, though. But yet, I do believe he will beat the champion. I think he beats all champions. But he's not champion. So then what do? Does he become a pound for pound? Is he the top on your pound for pound? How about the guy who is champion? Who in reality beat a bunch of Rolly Romeros to become champion. Okay, he's got the accomplishments. He is champion. Should you consider him pound for pound? What if one guy only had to beat one guy to unify all the titles, and another guy had to beat 4 different guys to unify all the titles? They're both unified undisputed champions. Who's the pound for pound? Well, look at the competition. Okay, can you guarantee that the other guy would have done the exact same thing had he been in that other division? Now, the face of boxing, that's a little bit easier. There's no really room there to be playing around. That's why fighters want to fight Canelo payday. And you know what? Shoot, I'll fight Canelo, homie, if I get paid. Boy, should have been pound for pound. Then he became everyone's piñata. Oh man, did he? Oh dog, man. To see, man. There's champions, then there's belt holders. Champions beat a champion to become a champion. Belt holders win, vacate belts, and then lose them in their first defense. Oh yeah, I mean yeah. Let me see. I would get in the ring to fight Canelo. I would be running once he punched me. Hey, I'll be honest, dog. If I got in the ring, Canelo, homie, I would give it my all. I would give it my all, dog. If he knocks me out, so be it. I'm getting paid, Holmes. But I would like to know that, you know what, man, I gave it my all. If I wake up in the hospital bed, so be it. So be it, dog. But that's why me, myself, not anybody, not David, not Mikey. Shout out to my carnales, man. They'll be on here on Friday. That's why I myself, Total Trucker. That's why I don't do pound for pound, dog. There's just way, 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 way too many moving parts. You could point out a couple of fighters where you're like, you know what, these guys right now are the best in boxing. I could throw out Canelo. I could throw out Usyk. I could throw out Monster Inoue. I could, I'll put Crawford in there as well. But it's just, to me, dog, like, activity matters to me, dog. It does, man. A lot. And if you're fighting once a year, it's hard, dog. It's hard for me to be like, you know what? I see the skills and everything. Good, man. Good, good, good. But dog, it's like fighting once a year, man, just ain't cutting it. And and that's the thing, Joaquin. That's the thing, right? It has. We know that boxing is a product. We know that boxing is a product, and you have to sell your product. And what is your product? Your product is you yourself, right? Okay. So that's what boxing is. It should it be like that? No, but that's the way it is. I mean, is Ryan Garcia a great fighter? Heck no, dog. That dude ain't no great boxer. He's got speed and he's got power. That's all that dude's got. And it works for him when he fights tomato cans. He'll be knocking dudes out. He can probably even beat, some C plus, maybe at the best B minus fighters, maybe because he does have speed and power, but that's all he has. Everything else he's not good at. But what's he good at? Staying relevant and selling. It sucks. It doesn't help the sport. It does not help the sport. But he does sell. Tyson Fury being a jackass, he sells. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. There's a couple of dudes out there that are actually great fighters, take the sport serious, and they do sell. That being Canelo Alvarez and Anthony Joshua. Now, who's better, Joshua or Alexander Usyk? Well, Usyk is. We seen that. We saw that 2 times. Usyk doesn't sell. It's sad. It shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. This rematch with Tyson Fury, let's be honest, man. The reason why the reason why that fight is gonna sell is because of Tyson Fury, not because of Usyk. Let me see. To me, pound for pound is a career accomplished list. Skills can only be proven against elite competitors. Say Tank or Shakur are the best without proving it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look, you can go off the eyeball test and say, like, damn, this dude's got some skills, right? Like, look, I think Tank does possess good skills. I think he possesses power. But I agree with you, man. It's like, okay, but you you got to fight some of these top dogs, homie. You look good. You look like you look like you could knock some heads. But it's not being proven because you're not fighting any of these dudes. Crawford, of course, fight once a year, and that's terrible, dog. Charlie Levanto out there talking about Ryan Garcia. Yeah, he is. You're right. You're absolutely right. However, if he comes back to boxing after his suspension, I completely agree with you, Anthony. If he comes back after his suspension, that first fight's gonna sell, Holmes. Ryan is a 24-year-old unproven prospect. Uh no, I think he's proven. I think he's proven what he is. And he's not great. I think he's proven what he is, man, but he's not that great, man. So do you think Crawford could fight again if he don't get the Canelo fight? Think would fight again. You know, on the live show, I brought it up because Ryan Garcia was over there running his mouth about the about Terence Crawford, about the Robert Garcia camp, talking about he'd beat all those dudes in the amateur and he'll whoop them all in the pro ranks and everything. And Terence Crawford, it looks like he's just after money now, right? Like that's all he's interested in. He's gonna be 37 years old. I don't think he's interested in fighting the likes of Virgil Ortiz or Boots Ennis or any of these guys, man. Tim Tszyu. I don't think he's interested in any of those fights. I think he's interested in making some major dollars. And that's what the Canelo fight brings him. If not, if Canelo shuts the door and says, no, I'm not fighting you, move on, then personally, I don't like this. But if I were on Team Bud Crawford, I would say, hey, check this out, champ. That big payday is not there for you. Okay, let's go to the next big payday, which is a Ryan Garcia fight. Is that a good fight? No, it's not. But it's a payday. You'll get paid more than if you fight Virgil Ortiz, unfortunately. Well, I mean, not unfortunately for the Bud Crawford team. So if Canelo does shut that door, I think Crawford might. I think he might entertain that Ryan Garcia fight. I think he might entertain it because there's a lot of money there, as opposed to some of these other fights that are much tougher than a Ryan Garcia fight. It's because they don't promote him well. I think you're talking about Alexander Usyk. Yeah, I mean that could be it, man. It could be it. At the same time, he's from a part of the world where you got to learn a certain language. Like if you think of those Eastern Europeans, man, that really got popular, like the Triple G's, right? Like the Lomachenkos, all those Eastern Europeans. Yeah, shouts to the Eastern Europeans. Those are my gente right there, dog. When you talk about those guys came over here to the United States. They pandered to mainly the Mexican audience. They learned the language, English. They fought in certain areas to pander to the certain audience, man, mainly the Mexican audience, and they were exciting to watch. Usyk, they're not doing that with Usyk. Usyk, they're keeping him and his weird ass haircut across the pond, and it's just not working out, man. I mean, it's working now of him, fighting and being the best heavyweight, yeah. But it's not working out as his popularity and becoming a star. In all reality, I mean, you talk to some casual boxing fans or anything, and you ask them, "Hey, man, pound for pound, who's the best?" They probably don't even know who Usyk is. Yeah, Ryan a good fighter, but he is a fruitcake. Well, look. I think Ryan is a fun fighter to watch. Okay, that counts as well. All right, you got to be a fun fighter to watch, and he is. I don't think he's all that. He's decent because he got speed and power. That is it, dog. I don't think anything else. He doesn't have any elite skills outside of those two things. Cholo Mexicans for Eastern. Hey, I just like, hey man, those dudes bring it, Holmes. Those dudes bring it. The better Bievs, the Bivos, the Lomachenkos, the Triple Gs, the Boacek. Those dudes bring it, dog. Those dudes bring it, and they're not a bunch of clowns either. They're not a bunch of Ryan Garcias, Holmes. Those dudes bring it. Yeah, I mean, look, Canelo still brings in a heck of a lot more money than Ryan Garcia does, but Ryan Garcia does bring in money. So that's saying if Crawford is only looking at money and that is all he's looking for, just money, and Canelo slams the door on his face and locks it, then yeah, dog. I mean, shoot, he should go entertain that Ryan Garcia fight. As a fan, I don't want to see him fight Ryan Garcia. There's much better fights I'd rather see him in there with. Personally, I would like to see him fight Virgil Ortiz. Some people want to see him fight Tim Tszyu. Some people want to see him fight Boots Ennis. None of those are a wrong answer. None of those are the wrong answer. But if I had to choose one and only one, I would choose Virgil Ortiz. Hey, that's another one. Yeah, dog. You know, he was good, man. Those dudes, dog. Those dudes, they come to fight. There's not a lot of payasadas with those guys, man. And you know, a lot of what us boxing fans complain about, we don't complain about those guys. Those fools ain't jumping around, dog, acting like a bunch of, donkeys, man, and divas and all that. And I think the worst one right now is probably Dimitri Bivol, I guess. He's in the news because of his wife. He's getting a divorce. But that's nothing compared to a lot of these other dudes, dog. So yeah, man, I'm gonna definitely show some love to that region of the world, man. Those guys are some tough guys, man, and they come to fight. I became a fan of Boachuk. And by the way, Virgil Ortiz is my favorite fighter, and I thought Boachuk won. Who looked better, 154, Crawford or Ortiz? Who's your top? I would have to think about that one. You know what's good, man, is that there's talks about Boachuk versus Madrimov, right? Both of the guys that lost, one guy lost to Crawford, one guy lost to Ortiz, and some may say that they actually won, but that those two dudes might fight each other. That is badass. That is badass. Now, here's another thing, man. People talk about, great fights should be pay-per-view. Okay, is that a great fight? Yes. Heck yes. Is it pay-per-view? No. Why is it not pay-per-view? Because they're not superstars. That's why. That's why it's not pay-per-view. Not because it's not a great fight, but because they're not superstars. See, Canelo, he's a superstar, so he's going to be pay-per-view. But in reality, when have you seen Canelo in candidate of fight for the year? fight of the year. When? He's a pay-per-view attraction. But never. Dog, I'm trying to just think off the top of my head, Holmes. Since I've been watching Canelo fights years ago, right? I cannot think ever of Canelo even being talked about of candidate of fight of fight of the year. Maybe maybe the fight with Triple G. Maybe there was a little bit of talks of possibly that being fight of the year. Maybe. But see, it's the superstar. Because if this fight is made between Boachuk and Madrimov, dog, that's probably going to be fight of the year. But if they put that behind a paywall and say, hey, it's going to be pay-per-view, everyone's going to complain about it. But why you complain about it? You want to see a great fight, right? That's a great fight. But it's not pay-per-view material because they're not superstars. Let me see. I saw that Cordina Shakur is off. Where's where answer? Oh man, dog. See, I'm glad to see you too. Oh yeah. Oh heck yeah. Well, hopefully that turns into something. I see Benavides. I like to see David Benavides fight. So do I. So do I. As much as people talk smack about David Benavides, I like watching his fights. Sir Bud gonna end up fighting a celebrity Jake Paul if he don't get the and those Matador. Who makes that fight pay-per-view? Who makes that fight pay-per-view? We definitely know who is the much by a long country mile, who is the much better boxer, but who actually makes that fight pay-per-view? Because it will be pay-per-view. Yeah, I got nothing really bad to say about David Benavides. I like watching his fights. I think the kid really wants it. Yeah. I mean, I don't something's up with his team and his dad. They're like completely off. They don't get their story straight. Check is a big, strong 100. Yeah, he is, man. Yes, he is at Pachuco. Yes, he is. And I like I said, Virgil Ortiz is my favorite fighter. He is my favorite fighter. I thought Boachuk won. I had it for Boachuk. Maybe the first Triple G fight, the COVID fight, he gave Canelo all he could handle. That's why I knew Bivol wouldn't be easy. Yeah. That's why, Canelo's never been, not that I can think of, mentioned ever in a, fight of the year candidate. Top 5 pound for pound, my list: Canelo, Tank Davis, Crawford, Ben Rodriguez, Bivol. Okay. Now, if somebody asks you, Andrew, why Tank Davis? He hasn't fought anybody. Or if somebody says, well, Canelo's lost. I mean, Ben Rodriguez, dog, just the eyeball test, just going off the eyeball test, man, dog, that kid's got skills, homie. That kid's got skills, dog. The Canelo versus Munguia battle is fight of the year worthy. Is it, Pachuco? Look. I'm not talking about. Yeah, for sure. Jake Paul sells that fight. Yeah. Look, I'm not talking about entertaining fights. Okay, Canelo has definitely had entertaining fights. Absolutely. But I don't think he's ever had a fight, that's gonna go down in history where it's like, damn, this was a war. There's never been a time. Again, I'm trying to think. I'm just going off the top of my head, homie. There's never been a time that I can think of that I saw one of his fights where I was just like, damn, you know what? Where after the fight, I was just like, damn, mark it right here, man. This is fight of the year. This was fight of the year. I've been entertained. Yeah, I've been entertained. Absolutely. But never to the point, dog, where I said, like, damn, I'm stamping it right here, man. This was fight of the year. Can't believe this Fulton first fight back since anyway. Yeah, man. It's been a minute, right? When was that Monster Fulton fight? Was that earlier this year or was that last year? I feel bad for Crawford. He's good. Just never been a draw. The Spence win went to his head. He's annoying now. Well, I mean, look, man, Crawford has always believed in himself. He always seemed like a good, skillful boxer. He didn't, he carried himself a certain way that was respectable, but at the same time, he never really drew a crowd, and it sucks because he always carried himself with respect. But Bob Arum said it, man, when he was with Tom Frank. Dog, I'm losing Feria with this guy. Canelo is no Marquez. He was never in a boring fight. Okay, yeah, okay, that's perfect example. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Right? Can you say Canelo is one of the greatest? Absolutely. Yes, 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 and yes, right? But Canelo has never had one of those fights that Marquez has, when Marquez fought Pacquiao. Entertaining fights, sure, absolutely. I'm not saying his fights are boring. I'm just simply saying there's never been a time that I can remember where I was just like blown away, dog. I'm like, dog, this was fight of the year, Holmes. Bam brings excitement. Yes, he does, Gordito. Canelo versus Cotto was probably the most evenly matchup he's ever been. Okay, yeah, probably. Probably. Bolton fight was last year. Wow, yeah, so it's been a while then. Mr. P. What a name. What a name. Let me see. Maybe the Canelo versus True. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's the one that came to mind. But again, we're just throwing that around as a maybe, right? I don't want to make it seem, dog, that he's a boring fighter. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just simply saying, dog, he is the face. But yeah, dog, he hasn't had one of those fights where it's like, dog, it is blood, guts, and tears, Holmes. You know what I mean? So, what do you think about Ducking Shakur for Tevin Farmer? I don't like it. I mean, look. Zapata versus Tevin Farmer. Is that a good little fight? Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool little fight. I'd rather see him fight Shakur. But I mean, I think it's a decent little fight. Yeah. Is it William? Is it Golden Boy? Hey, dog, I'll tell you guys this, man. I've had it with Golden Boy. I have, Holmes. Are you going to watch boxing or MMA? Boxing, homie. I don't. Mike Zavala, he follows MMA. I don't really. The last time I followed MMA, that was back in like the 2005, 6, or no, not later than that. I don't know, dog. What was it? 2010? Well, I guess I should just name fighters, man. I'm talking about like the Tito Ortiz's, the Iceman Chuck Liddell's, the Rampage Jackson. I used to watch it back in those days, but I haven't watched it since then. I mean, unless you really go back in the days with like the Royce Gracies or the the Ken Shamrocks or damn, what the heck was that dude's name? Tank Abbott. You know, those dudes, man. Severin, that dude Severin. But yeah, I just fell off, dog. I just fell off. It was cool, I guess it was cool. The characters, I guess that's what attracted me to it. But now boxing, homie. Boxing I've been watching. There's two things. Check this out. I do like football. I do like baseball. There's other sports that I enjoy, right? But there's only two things that I've been watching since I can remember I've been alive, right? I don't know when your memory comes in, what, at 2 years old, 3 years old? I don't know. But for as long as I can remember being alive, there's only two things that I can remember just watching. That's wrestling, because mi abuelita, she was a huge fan of lucha libre. So wrestling and boxing, because my family at that time were big boxing fans. They fell off years ago, years ago. I'm talking about probably like the late 90s. They kind of fell off of boxing. I couldn't tell anybody what's the first fight I've ever seen. I just remember for as long as I've been alive, I've been watching boxing and wrestling. Baseball, football, that stuff, that came later on, dog. That came when I was already like a teenager. Oh, Virgil and Bam are my favorite fighters. Quiet, respectful guys, and they're talking in the ring. That's what I like, Pachuco. But at times, it actually, it can hurt you at times. Now, I respect it. I'm with you at Pachuco, because I respect it and I like it. And I like dudes that carry themselves like that. At the same time, you got to have a little bit of personality to sell, right? To sell out there so that you yourself can become a pay-per-view attraction. I mean, you don't got to turn into a complete jackass, but you got to have a little bit of mic skills. You got to, show a little personality, man. I'm not talking about being a complete dumbass, just be a little bit more open to the people, dog. You know what I mean? Like some of these fighters, man, they put the mic in front of them, and it's like it's like they're camera shy. See, I bet money on Canelo with TKO. Let me see, good fights coming up with Mexican talent on the card and Saturday. Yes. I watch all fights from UFC, Bellator to boxing, and even YouTube boxing. Orale. All right. Hey, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tap a body here. Saludos, Pete Town, man. Yeah, I just want to come on here and say and give you guys my reason why. You know what? Hey, Gordito, you know what? Everybody, Holmes, everybody. It wouldn't hurt to put a couple of dollars on Berlanga. I wouldn't go crazy with it. But hey, homie, you just never know. Now, do I give Berlanga a chance? No, I don't. But for all you gambling mofos out there, it wouldn't hurt putting like $50, dog, on Berlanga. I think you're going to lose your $50. But, I mean, come on, man. Life's a risk, carnal. You know what I mean? So if I were a gambling man, and I'm not, but if I weren't, I'd actually put $100 on Berlanga, dog. Just in case. Which I don't think is going to happen, but, Anyway, man, hey, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to tap up out of here. We'll be back here on Friday to talk about the entire card. You got a lot of names on there, man. So we'll definitely put put an emphasis on the card that's coming up this weekend. But yeah, that's my reason why I don't do pound for pound. There's just way too many moving parts. There's no way to prove, oh, well, this guy at 130 is, he's champion. He's never been knocked down, Well, I'm picking this guy over here that's at 160. Oh, well, yeah, well, who has he beat? Oh, but they're not fighting the same dude. It's just a conversation I have that's going to have a perro chasing its own tail. That's it. But anyway, with that, I'm going to tap a body here. We will be back, Holmes. We'll be back on Friday with the fellas to talk about the Puerto Rican and Mexico rivalry, Holmes. Solo Truck, Los Tres Chingones Boxing. Shouts to all the chingones y chingonas. Catch you guys on next round.